For the same reason that 3G needed to go away to make way for 4G, and 4G is going to have to go away to make the way for 5G at some point. The reason that had to happen is because it's old technology and we don't use it anymore. Hello everybody. RCS versus iMessage. Now I know this is kind of a used up topic, but I wanted to take some time since it's, in the news right now and talk about what RCS is and how it could possibly be better. If you don't mind subbing, that helps me out. So this story of blue versus green, iMessage versus SMS goes back a long time, pretty much to the start of the smartphone age, actually. Picture this, it's 2009, AT&T is the only one that has the iPhone at this point, no other carrier has it. It's the iPhone 3GS. Actually, it may have been the 3G, the 3GS I think was 2010. I graduated high school in 2010, which makes me feel super old. In 2011, I was extremely excited because Steve Jobs, as one of my top 5 heroes, finally succeeded in getting the iPhone to more than one carrier, and Verizon picked it up for the iPhone 4. 4 standing for 4G is what I assumed, because 4G and 3G were doing the whole swap over like 4G and 5G are doing now. Supposedly what Steve Jobs really wanted was every iPhone sold in existence would have its own service built in through iPhone, so it didn't need a carrier. I don't remember exactly where I read that. It may have been his autobiography. It may have just been an article. I can't remember. Check my facts on that. That was originally what gave him the idea for iMessage, a phone-hosted messaging service that you don't have to pay for through your carrier, which was extremely important at the time because an extra 250 text messages cost me $5 a month. Or, an extra 500 text messages was like $15 a month. 500 messages, that's $250 one way, $250 the other way, not including group chats, which kind of weren't a thing yet. But that's kind of what I'm going to get to. So obviously, back in those days, SMS, MMS, those were common phrases. I don't even know what it stands for off the top of my head, but it's a regular text message, up to 64 characters or whatever it is. If you notice, even on phones now, they usually count characters, then say 1 of 64, 2/128, or whatever, showing how many messages you're actually going to send. Now phones are smart enough that it just combines it all into one long message. But even back in 2016, 2017, that wasn't even the case. You could text from an iPhone to an Android phone and it would break it up into 12 different tiny messages and send them all out of order. Same thing vice versa from the Android phone to the iPhone. That was one of the perks of iMessage, is that it would combine it all into one, and it was just a seamless conversation. It wasn't like all these individual SMS messages piling up. I'm not sure exactly where we lost that idea, but it seems like whatever generation this is that has iPhone XRs as their first iPhone doesn't understand the difference between blue and green messages and why it exists. So it's important to go back to the history of it and understand it. So that's why we have this issue. As in my iPhone 4 days, I would love the fact that I could type a contact into the messages and it would turn blue if it was iPhone or green if not. Now, me as a tech head, I was just happy because I would be able to, use the common language at the time, which was discussing iPhone features if I needed to, or asking them if they needed to FaceTime or whatever. If it was green, I knew I'd have to do another extra step and try to, if that was the case, I'd have to do a Facebook Messenger call. I don't even actually know if you could do that at the time. So that's why I liked the blue messages. It has become a status symbol, obviously. I have even had girls stop talking to me because I didn't have the blue messages. So anyway, all that to say, it has evolved for the sake of simplicity, because it's inter-operating system, all the servers are the same, it was just easier. Easily one of the most groundbreaking things Apple ever did to this day, so I'm not going to knock iMessage for not being innovative, it definitely is. But it's changed from just being a convenience on an iPhone to being a status symbol that gets you knocked down a couple pegs if you don't have it, and I don't like that at all. For the same reason that 3G needed to go away to make way for 4G, and 4G is going to have to go away to make the way for 5G at some point. The reason that had to happen is because it's old technology and we don't use it anymore. The reason Sprint was so bad, and the reason the Sprint T-Mobile merger is such a disaster at this point, backbone of Sprint's service was their 3G network, which was actually pretty good in rural areas. It was still 3G, it wasn't the fastest ever, but it was reliable, and it reached very far versus their 4G network, and they didn't have the money or the resources to upgrade that network the way other carriers did, which is why they were falling behind. T-Mobile's 4G network is decent in big areas, but their frequencies are so high that hitting into trees or hitting into something like that is far more detrimental than it is for AT&T or Verizon, which have a much lower frequency. So therefore, it gets through those things much better. So all that to say, the reason SMS and MMS need to go away at its core, at its baseline, is because SMS and MMS are the equivalent to 3G data. I mean, back in the day, I worked at a summer camp actually, and my unit leader had an iPhone 4, and I still had a little Samsung Glide, those little those phones. And he would send out multimedia messages, which is what a group text is classified as. And SMS and MMS didn't necessarily mean the same thing. SMS counted as a text message, your 250 or 500, however many you bought. And an MMS message was a text, but if you had to download an attachment like a picture or a video or a group chat, technically a group chat can be considered MMS, so there's an extra amount of data to download, then you would also get charged for data on top of your text. So these are two separate things. None of that matters now. None of it matters at all. What I'm saying is that these are two different technologies. If SMS was 2G, MMS would be 3G, and then RCS would be LTE. And this is why I'm so adamant about this, and why, if you're an iPhone user, the Android community is so adamant about this, not because we're crying and we're jealous that you have iMessage. I wish iMessage would, come over to Android, because it would instantly overnight become this texting standard of the entire world. It would be like, it would change things. But the reason we're asking for it and begging for it is because the SMS standard that we and you are trapped in when we text each other is the equivalent to 3G data. And it's very, very annoying and very, very frustrating that it can be better. The only reason it's not is because it's not, and no one has done anything about it yet. That's why this is so frustrating, because there's no real reason that it has to be this way. There's no technical reason. There's no software reason. It's not that you can't run iOS on an Android phone, you can't use a Snapdragon there's none of that stuff. It's just not, because it's not, and no one has taken the initiative. Google's been working on RCS for a good decade, so I'm not that they're a good guy in this story necessarily, because it's taken them far too long, and they waited around for carriers to do it, and obviously carriers aren't doing anything, because carriers are lazy and they don't care about moving the industry forward. They just want you to pay for your service. So that was a mistake, and they haven't branded it very well, because it's actually not a Google service, which is the next point that I actually want to get to. It's not a Google service. It's not Google Messages that you have to download on your iPhone. It's not WhatsApp that's hosted by Facebook on their servers. It's a decentralized way of texting like SMS is, but it's also encrypted. If I, with a Pixel, text my friend Justin at work with a Samsung, we can send high quality messages, we can see typing indicators, we can send videos, we can react to messages, and it'll have a little lock on the bottom showing that it's encrypted. All that to say, it gets very complex and very in the weeds. But the reason we want this, I'll say again, is because texting with SMS and MMS is the same as having an iPhone 4. It's texting with the equivalent of 2G, 3G speeds. So when we say, Apple, get the message, it's not because we're crying for mercy. It's not because we're begging for something that's worthwhile, because there are so many worthwhile things. I don't like WhatsApp because it's owned by Facebook, and I don't trust Facebook. But WhatsApp is a really good option if you don't mind that. Signal I use that all the time with some of my iPhone friends, and we do voice messages together. Telegram, great one. More for group chats, more so than individual texts. I still think Hangouts was one of the best. RIP. There are other options. It's just that the way it's structured in the United States, we shouldn't have to default to 2G texting just because you have an iPhone and Apple doesn't want to upscale it to the point where you can receive a voice message or a video from us, because it is that way too. It's not that Android can't send high quality. We're all sending high quality to us, to everyone, to all in between us. I can text somebody in India right now, and I can send them a high quality video over RCS, and it works great. I can see their typing indicators. I can see anywhere in the world. It's just between Android and iPhone. And again, I know it's pitched a lot of times that Android can't receive iMessages, which is true, but that doesn't mean Android can't receive high quality or send high quality. It's that Apple downgrades it when you receive it from us. We're asking for that ability to go from 3G to 4G and come into the 2020 era. Let's leave 2008 behind. iMessage is already far ahead. We're not asking for iMessage on Android. We're not even asking for like tagged posts and edits and undos, and that's not what we're asking for. It's just on the keep it green. It can still be green messages. That's fine. We're not asking for iMessage. We're asking that the green message gets updated from SMS to RCS, which is the same as going from 3G to 5G. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the matter. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know in the comments. Again, if you don't mind subbing, that helps me out because I'm trying to get to 2,000 subs. And then the more watch hours I have, the sooner I can be monetized. So if you enjoyed this, if it was helpful, please like and share if you don't mind. Share on Twitter. Feel free to tag me if you like. And share maybe with somebody who needs to understand the difference between SMS and RCS and iMessage and green message.